I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Ha Rakah Kodash. Double honors unto our apostle elders, which ruled great millstone while, and which taught us the truth. And shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel, Wa above all. So this is Exodus 7, verse 1. And Yahweh said unto Moses, See, I have made thee a god to Pharaoh, and Aaron thy brother shall be thy prophet. So Moses was sent with the name of Yahweh to go to Egypt and to tell Pharaoh to let the Israelites go. All right. But Pharaoh refused. All right. The Lord hardened his heart because he was going to make an example out of Pharaoh and the Egyptians to glorify the name of Yahweh and bring the Israelites out. He sent Moses, which Aaron was his prophet, which was also his brother. It says, Thou shalt speak all that I command thee, and Aaron thy brother shall speak unto Pharaoh that he send the sons of Israel out of his land. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart, meaning make him not understand that this is the Almighty Yahweh doing this, and multiply my signs and my wonders in the land of Egypt, which this is happening in this time in the spiritual Egypt, America, Babylon the Great. All right, they don't realize the power that they're messing with. All right, because the Lord is going to make an example out of these spiritual Egyptians, spiritual Babylonians, aka these Roman Americans. All right, so let's go to, in fact, it's in the Apocrypha, 2nd Ezra 15 and 10. It says, Behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter, which they intend to try to slaughter us, trying to erase the name of Israel so that it will be no longer in remembrance. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt, which is talking about America. Look at the back of your dollar. But I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm and smite Egypt with plagues as before. So he's going to plague Babylon the Great, a.k.a. America, as he plagued Egypt as before, because America is in the spirit of Egypt, and will destroy all the land thereof, which it's going to be destroyed by nuclear weapons fired upon it from its allies, the NATO nations, UN nations, and its enemies, the BRIC nations. This is the prophecy of the judgment of this great whore. Now it says in Exodus 7 and verse 4, but Pharaoh, what you got to remember, Pharaoh used to be inaugurated. That's where they get the inauguration for the president. Look at the structures in the capital city, which they have the same structures throughout the whole country, which one of them is the obelisk, which is the missing penis of one of the false gods of Egypt. So they're pretty much showing you that they're in allegiance. And then in all their city symbols, they got a rising sun behind the mountains. All right, which their worship of the earth, right? Like the sun, they have a sun god called Ra. All right, which this is why the Lord plagued them the way he did, to show that their God had no power over the Almighty. For the Almighty, through his son Yahweh Shai, which the Almighty's name is Yahweh, and through his son Yahweh Shai, he created all these things. It says in Exodus 7 verse 4, but Pharaoh shall not hearken unto you. So he gave Moses prophecy that I may lay my hand upon Egypt. So just like now, these Edomites, they're not listening to the prophets and letting us go. They're listening to the prophets and trying to go against the prophecies. They're going to try to make war with us instead of submitting. And this is why Yahweh is going to send Yahweh Shai back, and he's going to shake the earth, and every knee is going to bow. It says, and bring forth mine armies, and my people, the sons of Israel, out of the land of Egypt by great judgments. So this is what's going to happen to Babylon the Great, spiritual Egypt, aka America. They don't want to let us go. It tells you in Lamentations 4, verse 21, rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, which is the so-called white race, the wicked, the red devil the Bible speaks of, that dwelleth in the land of Uz. Uz represents America. America is Babylon the Great. Even I shared a recent video of Tucker Carlson's interview, and they were talking about how the economy, the system of America is magic. They could alter the prices at just a push of a button. All right. And that's what they did in the Babylon. They did money magic. All right. America built its society on the witchcraft of Egypt and Babylon and these other nations, but that witchcraft that passed through these other nations came out of Ham. All right. After Noah survived the flood with his 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. That demonic spirit that was upon Cain, all right, it was on Ham, all right? And this is why Esau, the reincarnation of Cain, that lost his skin color because he murdered his brother Abel, he was reincarnated as Esau, and he cleaved to the way of Ham, all right? It says, the cup also shall pass through unto thee, thou shalt be drunken, and shall make thyself naked. All right. And what they're doing is they're trying to go to war with the Lord. If you read the Antiquity of the Jews, all right, from Flavius Josephus, which was an Israelite that survived 70 AD, he tells you that Ham, when Nimrod was building that tower, pretty much he wanted to try to go to war with the Lord. And he was trying to get all the nations together to try to fight against the Lord and to escape the judgment of what they experienced before, which was a flood. All right. So that's what the Edomites are doing now. They're trying to go to war with the Lord, right? They got their Space Force. They got their nuclear missiles, which all this was given to them because the Lord's going to judge this great whore and make war by sending back his righteous son, Yahweh Shai. All right. It says, verse 22, the punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. We were punished because we sinned, and we were scattered throughout the world, exiled from our land. Now that we're repenting, we're at the end of our punishment. He will no more carry thee away into captivity, which the Edomite, he thinks he's going to get us into taking that chip, right? He's coming out with that implantable microchip, the mark of the beast, and he thinks that's going to get him more life, more of having us in captivity. All right, it's a new form of captivity, but it's not going to work. It's going to fail because Yahweh is going to send Yahweh Shai back after they make that implantable microchip mandatory for buying and selling to be part of their beast system. All right. And they're going to persecute the Israelites unto death. So Yahweh is going to send Yahweh Shai and shorten the days for the elect's sake. It says, he will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sins. So this is what he's going to do. He's going to destroy Edom and their kingdom and enslave the elite of them that are going to hide in their billionaire bunkers. All right. So going back to Exodus 7 and let's see. Verse 5, and the Egyptians shall know that I am Yahweh when I stretch forth mine hand upon Egypt and bring out the sons of Israel from among them. Why? Because they had a prophet amongst them, right? The Lord sent Moses and Aaron into Egypt to say for them to let the Israelites go, right? But what did Pharaoh say? Let me see, I believe it's in 5. Right here in Exodus chapter 5, verse 1. And afterward Moses and Aaron went in and told Pharaoh, Thus saith Yahweh's power of Israel, let my people go, that they may hold a feast unto me in the wilderness. And Pharaoh said, Who is Yahweh that I should obey his voice to let Israel go? I know not Yahweh, neither will I let Israel go. So that's the attitude of these Edomites today. Who shall bring me down? Right? So the Lord's going to send his son back, and he's going to take them out of power and put them in their place, which is underneath us. All right, and they're going to be underneath all the heathen in slavery. The heathen entirely is going into slavery, but there's pretty much levels, and Esau's going to be at the bottom. And then after that 1,000 years of slavery, they're going to be made extinct. That's the prophecy. It says in Exodus 7, verse 6, And Moses and Aaron did as Yahweh commanded them, so did they, and Moses was 80 years old, and Aaron 83 years old, when they spake unto Pharaoh. So Moses was 80 years old, and Aaron was 83 years old. Verse 8, And Yahweh spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying, When Pharaoh shall speak unto you, saying, Show a miracle for you, then thou shalt say unto Aaron, Take thy rod and cast it before Pharaoh, and it shall become a serpent. And the reason why it was important that it became a serpent, the Pharaoh wore a serpent. All right. Let me see. I pulled it up. Because when you go into the history in the antiquity of the Jews, it tells you that Moses destroyed one of their diadems when they tried to put it on his head, and it was a snake. He crushed it as a young child. It said it was made out of gold. It says, What was the diadem of the Egyptian? It put war, but the Egyptian. It says the Egyptian diadem was a royal headband or crown, often made of gold and decorated with sacred symbols like the cobra and vulture. It symbolized kingship, divine protection, and authority in both life and war. So the serpent was a god to the Egyptian. So that's why the Lord, when he sent Moses and Aaron, he turned Aaron's rod into a serpent, showing them that their God was nothing, that our God was greater than their God. All right. It says in Exodus 7, verse 10, And Moses and Aaron went in unto Pharaoh, and they did so as Yahweh had commanded. And Aaron cast down his rod before Pharaoh and before his servants, and it became a serpent. Then Pharaoh, and what you got to also remember is the rod represented the man's history. All right, in the ancient world, they would carve the victories, all right, into the staff. So this is also a representation of our victory over the heathen. It says in verse 11, Then Pharaoh also called the wise men and the sorcerers, now the magicians of Egypt, they also did in like manner with their enchantments, which they had left-handed power through the demonic spirits. All right. It says, for they cast down every man his rod, and they became serpents. So that shows you that same power that Yahweh gave to Moses and Aaron, he gave to the Egyptians on the left-hand side. All right? And Yahweh does this through Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai controls man on earth through angels. And either you're being dealt with on the right-hand side, being an Israelite, he gives you the Holy Spirit. And on the left-hand side, he gives you demonic spirits. All right? It says, and you got Israelites that are on the left-hand side, right? Look at Ray J. Ray J was dealing with the left-hand side, and now he's locked up for pulling out a strap and making death threats. Bugged out, went out of his wits over a woman, right, that could care less about him. That's what happens. The left-handed side, it bugs you out. On the right-hand side, it stabilizes. It says in verse 12, for they cast down every man his rod, and they became serpents. But Aaron's rod swallowed up their rod, showing that Yahweh was with Moses and Aaron over the Egyptians. All right? It says, and he hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he hardened Pharaoh's heart that he hearkened not unto them as Yahweh had said, pretty much all the way up to his own destruction. Which this is what's going to happen here in this spiritual Egypt, America, aka Babylon. All right? The Lord's going to harden their heart as he plagues this place. It's going to be evident that the Lord is against this place. There's going to be so much chaos. Eventually, it's going to be you will not be able to reject that this is a higher power punishing this place, plaguing this place. But they're still going to go against the Israelites. And then when they see the chariots, they're going to go against them. All right? So the Lord's going to put it in their hearts, all right, that they're not going to be able to back down or repent, right, from what they intend to do. And that's because the Lord is a man of war, and he wants to take these devils to war. All right? It says in verse 14, and Yahweh said unto Moses, Pharaoh's heart is hardened. He refused to let the people go, which that was the plan. All right? Read the beginning of Exodus. It says, get thee unto Pharaoh in the morning, lo, he goeth out unto the water, and thou shalt stand by the river's brink against he come. It says, by the river's brink against he come, and the rod which was turned to a serpent shalt thou take in thine hand, and thou shalt say unto him, Yahweh's power, the power of the Hebrews, hath sent me unto thee, saying, let my people go, that they may serve me in the wilderness, and behold, hereto thou wouldest not hear. Thus saith Yahweh, in this thou shalt know that I am Yahweh. Which, if you go back to the promise that he made to Abraham, he told Abraham that the Israelites would go into slavery for 400 years in Egypt, and then he was going to bring them out to bring them against the Amorites that were in the land of Canaan. So that's what he was doing. He was going to bring them out of Egypt and bring them into that land of Canaan, and he was going to use them as a battle axe against those Canaanites that were into witchcraft and sodomy. All right. It says, let me see here. It says, I am Yahweh. Behold, I will smite the rod that is in mine hand upon the waters which are in the river, and they shall be turned to blood. So Yahweh used Moses and Aaron. Through that staff, he turned the water to blood. And the fish that is in the river shall die, and the river shall stink, and the Egyptians shall loathe to drink of the water of the river. And Yahweh spake unto Moses, say unto Aaron, take thy rod and stretch out thine hand upon the waters of Egypt, upon their streams, upon their rivers, and upon their ponds, and upon all their pools of water, that they may become blood, and that there may be blood throughout all the land of Egypt, both in vessels of wood and vessels of stone. So they turned, right, in obedience, right? The waters turned to blood, all of them, whether it was the river, whether it was a pond, whether it was a pool, whether it was a vessel containing water made out of wood or stone. There was no drinking water. All right. And this was because they worshiped the Nile River. The Nile River was, they seen it as a god because it gave them life, being that it was rich in nourishing the earth, and it brought forth live animals to their consumption, right? So let me get it. It was pulled up earlier. Right here it says, the Nile turned to blood, and this is from Copilot. The Nile turned to blood, first plague. The Nile was Egypt's lifeline and revered as a god. Turning it to blood symbolized judgments against Egypt's deities and the corruption of life. Symbolism: blood here represents death and divine judgment, contrasting with its usual biblical role as life, which that was a river that watered that whole land and made it rich. There was 4 main rivers that went through, and the Nile was one of them. All right, and it made that land rich with life. But now it was becoming death by being turned into blood at the staff of Aaron, at the command of Moses, as it was prophesied by Yahweh, and eventually it was illustrated through Yahweh Shai. All right. And Pharaoh's heart was hardened, so he couldn't understand it. Okay. Because the Lord wanted to destroy him. It says in Exodus 7, verse 20, and Moses and Aaron did so as Yahweh commanded, and he lifted up the rod and smote the waters that were in the river in the sight of Pharaoh, which Pharaoh just means king of Egypt, and in the sight of his servants, and all the waters that were in the river were turned to blood. And the fish that was in the river died, and the river stank, and the Egyptians could not drink of the water of the river, and there was blood throughout all the land of Egypt. And the magicians of Egypt did so with their enchantments, and Pharaoh's heart was hardened, neither did he hearken unto them as Yahweh had said. And Pharaoh turned and went into his house, neither did he set his heart to this also, which he pretty much didn't listen. He didn't take heed. And all the Egyptians digged round about the river for water to drink, for they could not drink of the water of the river. And 7 days were fulfilled after that Yahweh had smitten the river. All right, so there was no water, right? And they had to dig for water for 7 days. All right, now this is the same thing that's going to happen to Babylon the Great. All right, these are the same plagues he's going to send upon Babylon the Great. It says in Romans 9, verse 17, for the scripture saith unto Pharaoh, even for this same purpose have I raised thee up. So just like he raised up Egypt to be a great nation, made them have the structure of having a king, right, and a military. And this is what he's done for America. He raised it up. He took the Edomites out of the caves, out of the dark ages, from the Renaissance, and made them raise up a great kingdom called America, so that he could destroy it and his name be glorified. This is Yahweh's purpose for America. It says, even for this same purpose have I raised thee up, that I might show my power in thee, and that my name might be declared throughout all the earth. So before he destroyed Egypt with plagues and their military and their king in the Red Sea, he sent prophets with the name of who was doing it, Yahweh. All right. And now, because of the prophecies being fulfilled much more, we have his son's name, Yahweh Shai. So Yahweh does these things through Yahweh Shai, but Yahweh Shai controls the right hand and the left hand. Therefore hath he mercy on whom he will have mercy, and whom he will, he hardeneth. So he's going to harden the heathen, right, to try to slaughter us, but then he's going to allow us to overcome. Thou wilt say then unto me, why doth he yet find fault? For who hath resisted his will? There is no free will. It's all ordained, predestined. Nay, but, O man, who art thou that replieth against Yahweh or his son Yahweh Shai? Shall the thing formed say to him that formed it, why hast thou made me thus? Had not the potter power over the clay of the same lump to make one vessel unto honor and another unto dishonor? Which Esau and Jacob came out of Isaac, and Esau and Jacob, the Lord created Jacob to receive mercy, and he created Esau to receive dishonor. What if Yahweh, through his son Yahweh Shai, willing to show his wrath and to make his power known, endured with much long suffering the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction, because they've been ruling since the Greeks, the Romans. Then there was a dark age where he made them Neanderthals, and then after the dark age he had the Renaissance, the rebirth of the so-called white race. And the Lord is long suffering, so that none of his elect shall perish. So all this time, right, he's reserved a remnant for these last days of the nation of Israel, and that he might make known the riches of his glory on the vessels of mercy, which he had afore prepared unto glory, which are the Israelites, and is starting with the elect. 2 Corinthians 4 verse 1, therefore seeing we have this ministry, as we have received mercy, we faint not. It says in verse 5, for we preach not ourselves, but Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, the Lord, and ourselves your servants for Yahweh Shai's sake. So we're in the position of Moses. All right. It says, for Yahweh, through Yahweh Shai, who commanded the light to shine out of darkness, which commanded us just as he commanded Moses to prophesy, right? King Masha is the reincarnation of Moses. Aaron is Abba Bivens. All right? So these men have been reincarnated, and they've done the same thing again in this spiritual Egypt. And the light is shining out of men, Israelite men, in this dark place, which is under the heathen. It says, has shined in our hearts, in our mind, to give the light of the knowledge of the glory of Yahweh in the face of Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, which Yahweh Shai HaMashiach is soon to return. But we have this treasure in earthen vessels, which were mortal men, that the excellency of the power may be of Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, and not of us. We are troubled on every side, which they're going to persecute us, yet not distressed. We're going to have peace, because the truth shall set you free. We are perplexed, but not in despair, because the Lord has given us hope. Persecuted, but not forsaken, because we're going to be saved. Cast down, but not destroyed, because we have eternal life through Yahweh Shai, by the power of Yahweh. Always bearing about in the body the dying of the Lord Yahweh Shai, teaching the sacrifice that Yahweh Shai made for us, that the life also of Yahweh Shai might be made manifest in our body, so that we could condemn sin in sinful flesh. For we which live are always delivered unto death for Yahweh Shai's sake, which were like sheep before wolves, that the life also of Yahushua might be made manifest in our mortal flesh. And that's what he's doing. He has us living as Yahushua, like the Word made flesh. All right? And we're here to give warning to the Israelites, like it says in Ezekiel 3 and 17. It says, Son of man, I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel, because salvation is only for the Israelites. Therefore hear the word at my mouth, and give them warning from me. When I say unto the wicked, talking about the Israelite, thou shalt surely die, and thou giveth him not warning, nor speaketh to warn the wicked from his wicked way, to save his life, the same wicked man shall die in his iniquity. But his blood will I require at thy hand, because you didn't give him warning. So this is why we do these videos on a constant rate. Yet if thou warn the wicked Israelite, and he turn not from his wickedness, nor from his wicked way, he shall die in his iniquity, but thou hast delivered thy soul. All right, and that's what we're intending to do, is to deliver our soul in Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai, which it's already preordained. All right, now let's go to 2 Ezra 15, verse 4. For all the unfaithful Israelites shall die in their unfaithfulness. Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. So this is the Lord. So to escape this judgment, we're repenting and running into the name of the Lord, which is a strong tower, Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai, and he's going to save us as he promised us, whether we live or whether we die. Shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. Wa abal babal.